Welcome to the Turd Nerds. We are the functional gastroenterology podcast discussing all things poop. Before we take the plunge into today's episode, let us tell you a bit about ourselves. I'm Dr. Rebecca Sand, a naturopathic physician and acupuncturist, and I specialize in all things gastroenterology, hormones, and fertility.
I'm Dr. Ami Kapadia, and I'm a medical doctor trained in family medicine and functional medicine with a special interest in gastrointestinal health, food and environmental allergies, and autoimmune disease.
And I'm Dr. Ilana Gurevich, a naturopathic physician and acupuncturist who is board certified in naturopathic gastroenterology. I specialize in inflammatory bowel disease, IBS, and other functional digestive disorders. Let's jump into today's episode.
The following discussion is for educational purposes only and not intended to diagnose or treat any diseases or conditions. Please consult your doctor before incorporating any of this information into your care. The information presented on this podcast is not medical advice.
All right, Turd Nerds, welcome back. As promised, we are going to be talking about ways now to support your liver, so tune in to our previous episode on everything that goes wrong with the liver, at least some things.
Not everything.
Maybe what could show up in labs.
Yeah, what we're gonna be thinking about in our practice.
Yeah, but today we're gonna kind of just have like a popcorn style, all the things that you want to have on your radar to be able to support livers. So take it away, Turds.
Okay, so
Can I just this is for, again, non-serious. Okay.
Yeah.
Somewhat,
like send people to the ER if they need to go to the ER.
This is for the people with, can we first talk about what kind of patients you're going to use this with?
Yep.
Okay. I'll let you talk now.
What?
No, you just took the mic.
Okay. So I think we're going to talk about, using this would be for example, a patient with, I'm just going to keep calling it NASH for now. Mm-hmm. This would be for a classic patient with NASH, the types of treatments you could do to support them, because in conventional medicine, outside of removing toxins and dietary changes, there's not like medicines we use for NASH per se. There's medicines we use for metabolic disease, but we're going to talk about different approaches for that type of patient where it's a reversible form of liver disease, or maybe even someone with autoimmune hepatitis or something where we're not going to be able to fully potentially resolve it, but how can we support the liver? Does that sound like
so no serious disease, because in those people you need to be really careful about ways you're pushing the liver.
Yeah.
So kind of just like your low grade.
And the one thing I want to say is I have, in my 17 years of practice, seen this reversed time and again. Totally. This is all very reversible.
You're talking about NASH.
I'm talking about metabolic liver disease.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make this switch.
You're going to get it.
I mean, I by the way, I hope that's what it's called. Like, this is all of us pulling it off of our brain. Yeah. But I mean, we see liver disease all of the time. Yeah. Like that is just something that comes up. And I have personally, I'm tracking these people with blood tests. I'm tracking these people with ultrasound. Yep. I am seeing reversal of disease.
Yep. And I think this would also be for the person who has maybe a medication-induced mild hepatitis, where it's not serious where anything else is going to be done, but we remove the medicine and what else can we do, right?
And that,
et cetera, when it's not acute.
That is such an interesting thing to start with, because I also feel like, I just want to remind everybody, we are in the Pacific Northwest, right? Mm-hmm. We are not in the deep South where they have a lot more metabolic disease, where they have a lot more diabetes. Like the patients that we're seeing are predominantly A, looking for more holistic care, and B, more active, and it's easy to reverse. And there's also tools in the Pacific Northwest where it's like, you can go out to eat really high quality, healthy food. Yeah. You can bicycle around the whole city. Yeah. You can go hiking like 30 minutes away. Yeah. You can go skiing an hour away. Because that, honestly, the place where everything has to start with this whole conversation is making sure your diet is dialed in and what you're putting in your body isn't poisoning you.
Yeah. It's not a burden on the liver.
Toxin exposures from personal care products and plastics and all the things.
I mean, I would just start with, are you eating processed and ultra processed food, and how much of your diet is sugar? Yeah. So let me just tell you guys about my current existential crisis. And if you guys can help me navigate this, I would love this.
Does it have to do with chocolate?
No, but yes.
So my consumption has gone up, but
so
what's wrong with chocolate? Why are we bashing chocolate?
I mean, I think we know what chocolate means in my world.
I'm living in bliss here. Chocolate's fine. There are no heavy metals in it. We are good.
There's definitely no sugar.
No sugar.
So my I have a prepubescent daughter, right? And I am a naturopath, which means that the way that I view food that's available, that's readily available, and almost pushed on our children is we are poisoning them, right? Like processed sugar.
By a true natural
I mean, like, no, it is like processed sugar and processed, quote unquote treats with all the preservatives.
It's so
and
hard
all
to find stuff without added sugar. Starting with like infant food, it's so hard.
Okay, I have to mention something.
Okay, go.
My new friend at work, I gave her a quote unquote cookie that I bought from the store.
What did she say it was?
I think it tastes good. It's like a treat for me when I'm tired in the afternoon. Yeah, I'm not going to say the name because we don't do that kind of thing. But it's a naturally sweetened, mildly sweetened type of almond flour cookie that's available.
Sounds gross on me. It sounds really gross.
It sounds great.
Put it with some unsweetened almond milk.
Yeah,
it's like a good
it sounds
treat.
great. Yeah.
And she's like, "Why did you give this?"
She's like, "Oh, this is cardboard."
And then I was like, "You sound like my nieces when I give them snacks. They start spitting it out. They're like,
if you don't eat the butter, flour, sugar stuff on the regular, I'm sure it's good.
Butter is fine. It has butter. It had almond flour.
A little bit of maple syrup or honey. Yeah, that's so I am having I believe like I like treats and I bake them myself and they're all organic and they're generally paleo, and my daughter just wants the sugar and she wants all of the sugar, and she's very interesting. She knows how to moderate, right? So she doesn't binge like my son will binge, but I'm also like, it's poison. Like there's nothing nutritious in there. It's just taking up space and it's like literally rotting your teeth, rotting your organs. Like that's what metabolic liver disease is. It is literally a rotting of the liver. But then I'm like, the flip side of me is she's a girl and I don't want to give her an eating disorder.
Yeah.
And so I'm like running this thin line where I'm like,
we don't want to demonize food.
Right.
We want to just encourage the good ones.
But a lot of food is poison. Hey, Turds, reach out to me. If you guys want to start a support group, I could really use some ideas on how to navigate. Anybody who's been out in practice and has children that went through this, I need support.
We all need
hard.
support.
It's hard with family members. I remember I was talking to my sister-in-law like 20 years ago in an elevator in Chicago, and the deodorant topic came up, and I was trying to educate them on the toxins in regular deodorant. And I don't think she was seriously upset with me, but she's like, I cannot live with all your rules.
I mean, I do think like
you do have a lot of rules,
but
you're probably gonna.
I wasn't bringing glass Tupperware to restaurants at that.
Less. I think she has less rules now than she used to.
Wow.
It's true. I eat cheese.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sugar.
Okay. So
and less rice.
The other thing about sugar consumption for the liver is promoting yeast and the toxicants that yeast alone produces that affect the liver.
I just want to say I'm going to take a nap. Now I heard the word toxicants again. I'm too tired.
It's so depressing. I know. I've tried to avoid it for years and unfortunately.
So going back to liver disease. So the first and most important thing that you can do is get the processed and ultra processed food out of your body. That is a very tricky thing to do if you don't have guidance. Like if you don't know what to eat and everything you're eating is out of a box and you don't want to cook, it is definitely, I totally hear you, as an uphill battle. There's 1,000 blogs. There's some of my favorite ones are like, I like eating Asian food. So there's like a great paleo one. She like step by step, every instruction, Num Nom Paleo. I love that one. There's somebody out of Oregon, actually out of Portland, called Minimalist Baker. Really clean food, like all over the map. But there's like these tools that you can start to introduce slowly.
Can I throw one in there?
Yeah.
So I really like to give out Dr. Hassel. He's a physician at Providence. He's got a website, Good Food, Great Medicine. Great patient handouts on all of these things because there's limited time to go over all of it. But he's really into you need to learn how to cook some basic things. And even for those of us who are somewhat challenged in cooking, he does have a book.
I've seen it. I had a patient.
It's a great book. Yeah. But you can make it so it's not that complicated. Like we literally steam 3 pounds of broccoli on Sunday.
I bet your house smells great.
And then we have these Japanese frozen dumplings. You get a meal. You put some chili sauce on there. I'm good to go for lunch.
I am actually now making my own chili sauce.
This is
to make.
Too much
I know.
Ilana.
To make chili sauce, you're like 3 minutes in. And it's so good. And I put Szechuan peppers in mine.
Good as the one I order online from the special person in California.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Back to liver people.
I have roasted garlic in mine. And ginger.
I'll just go ahead and plug this too. Mama Tiav's, I believe it's called. Amazing.
Have
you tried that?
Yes, but it's $10 an ounce.
I don't care, Ilana.
I'm making it. You know what?
Joy it
You know what,
brings.
Turds? Christmas gifts for everybody.
Yeah.
My Asian chili oil.
Actually, my husband has issues with the cost and would
Oh,
like to.
great. Oh my
the
God.
cost of anything, actually, and would like to learn how to make the chili sauce.
Okay, great. Oh my God, done and done. Okay, so the first place
Should
to
we sell
start.
it on our website? Turd branded hot sauce?
No, because then we have to produce it in a kitchen, in a
that.
culinary kitchen.
Okay,
I
we'll
can't.
just
Okay.
learn your version for ourselves.
Okay, so food is the first thing, and
Yep.
weight loss. Like there is a thing where if you are running too high of blood sugars and you're pushing obesity or morbid obesity,
metabolic syndrome,
that is putting so much strain on the liver. And I want to just talk about obesity very quickly because we can't not talk about the liver and talk about this. There's two forms of obesity, right? There is the type of obesity where you have what they call morbid obesity, where you have fat that surrounds the organs.
Yeah, adipose around the organs.
The
puts a
body
burden on
can't
them.
see that.
Yep.
That is causing a huge inflammatory load, probably the biggest inflammation you have.
Is this the visceral fat?
That's visceral fat.
And
Yep.
it secretes hormones
And
that further mess things up.
I mean, it's like it is a downward stream.
Yeah, it's hard.
And then the other one is just like, like you've got fat like on your thighs or on your legs, and that's actually a pretty healthy fat.
Yep.
Like we're not demonizing that. It is
Yep.
the visceral obesity. And to be honest, those are the patients that I do want to talk about. If they can't, we are set up in this world not to be able to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
We live in a hypercaloric environment where you can get anything that's unhealthy and full of just empty calories and poison at any gas station, any store, any, right?
And we're supposed to be working all the time, never resting,
Right.
cortisol's through the roof.
Not sleeping.
Yep. And we're shamed for all of it, which further compounds everything.
So I am not opposed to
Should
using
we move?
to where? Where are we going to go? We're farming out our Western.
Okay, there's nowhere to go. Go ahead.
And so honestly, those patients, I am really, really a pro using pharmaceuticals if they need the extra support.
Which there's some interesting options outside of the very popular
Obvious,
one right
yeah.
now. That the one with bupropion.
Yeah, well, Contrave, naltrexone and bupropion.
Yeah, that seems like a relatively safe combination.
I have used that one a lot, and I have my patient responses. So the way that I do it, there's this, if we're going to plug another podcast, because that's, I think, all we do, there's this phenomenal podcast called Curbsiders, and they did an episode just on obesity drugs.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Phenomenal.
It's
Phenomenal.
really good.
And so the way they instructed you to do it is you start with bupropion, you do 150 immediate release once a day, then you go up to twice a day, and then you introduce the naltrexone next. I have had multiple patients who not only have like an overeating disorder, but also have a binge drinking disorder. Like they're just put down their dopamine.
Right.
And one of my patients was like, oh my God, it was like all of that noise just disappeared.
Wow.
It was, she was like, I didn't even know. And she like stopped drinking, stopped overeating,
She's
kind of
sleeping?
amazing.
Are they
Sleeping great.
Wow.
Anxiety is way lower.
Yeah.
I have other patients who are like, get me the hell off of this Wellbutrin.
Totally.
Like,
It's too stimulating.
yeah. And so I it's all over the board, but
Yeah.
there's really good data on the bupropion, Wellbutrin. There's really good data on phentermine and topiramide.
Right. I had a patient who did really well on that. Do you find the bupropion plus naltrexone has a significantly better effect than just bupropion?
According to so my other favorite podcast, Dr. Journal Club, they covered, Joshua Goldenberg did a really small snippet when they looked at comparing the GLP-1 agonists, that's the Ozempic and the semaglutides, with phentermine, topiramide, and then the bupropion, naltrexone, and they all showed good efficacy.
Yeah, GLP-1s are having a moment too.
Yeah, and interestingly about GLP-1s, okay, all of our doctor listeners out there, Eli Lilly has come out with a direct-to-consumer semaglutide or GLP-1 agonist, so it's not going to cost you $1,200 a month. You can get away with like $100 something. If you guys Google Eli Lilly direct-to-consumer, you'll find it, and you can prescribe it into the Eli Lilly pharmacy, or patients can establish if they're out of state with Eli Lilly. They have a drug prescribing program, but it does make it more cost effective if insurance doesn't cover it.
I would like to know if the bowel effects and gastroparesis are reversible.
Totally.
So from my understanding, the answer is yes, generally they are, except in a very small subset of the population. So there's always that risk. Also, the other risk that you need to know about with the GLP-1s is that it has the potential, like 30% of the weight you're losing is going to be muscle mass. So you want to make sure that these patients are able to build muscle. And the goal is you are teaching them how to eat. You're teaching them how to exercise. You're allowing their body to make those changes while you're also pushing the weight loss. So I think weight loss has to be the beginning, right? And then I think the second step has to be monitor your alcohol and please don't exceed.
Alcohol.
Right? Monitor your alcohol,
Yeah.
monitor your pharmaceutical intakes. Let's see if any of your pharmaceuticals are necessary
Yeah.
or are they being used to treat secondary effects from what's
Totally.
actually causing the liver disease
Yep.
that's causing more liver disease.
Yeah.
Right.
We
So-
have so normalized binge drinking in this. Like, people don't even know.
Still?
Yes. People, when we ask on the intakes, they'll be like, yeah, when I only drink like two times a week, I'm like, okay, when you go out, how much? And they're like, well, not that much. It's like, I'll have 6 beers or so. And I'm like, 6 beers? Wow.
Yeah.
So
that's inducing acute hepatitis.
So I
Twice a
will
week.
always go, oh, not that much. And I'll be like, oh, what, like 12 to 14 drinks a night? And they were
Yeah.
like, no, like 10 max. But I was
Yeah.
taught that by one of my
Totally.
instructors, like you go hyperbole
You ask how
and
many
then-
bottles they're having.
and
not
then they'll be
just
honest.
glasses. I know.
because the judgment and the self-judgment is totally a thing.
Yeah, but it's totally normalized. People aren't even educated on it, so take the time to talk.
Yes.
I thought, I guess living in a small world, I thought that, because all these well-known integrative medicine practitioners are looking at the data, listening to all the podcasts we listen to, it's come out that no amount of alcohol is really,
I think that
beneficial.
I've
Yeah,
heard from 0
sure.
to 2 drinks max per week.
Yeah,
Okay.
but none is better. None is better.
Yeah.
I feel, yeah.
Yeah.
It's never going to serve you. It's going to
Yeah,
inflame the
I mean,
gut.
I think it served you when we didn't have good water hygiene principles.
Yeah.
Like when
Oh,
you needed
yeah.
to like process your
True.
water to get rid of
Yep.
all the parasites and protozoa in
point.
there.
Yep.
But I think that that's not the case right now.
Mhm. I know.
It's a cost benefit analysis.
Can we talk about some supplements?
Yes. Okay. So that's you cannot start. Do not start any conversation with a supplement. Start every conversation with the diet and the lifestyle. 'Cause that's the most
Lifestyle,
important. And then ... toxicants. Bummer. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
we'll
It's
get
coming.
there.
So just remember, not just what you eat, but what you put on your skin, what you clean with, what
Yeah.
your food
Shout
is
out
in.
to Environmental Working Group.
Yeah.
They're
Oh.
skin deep.
Okay.
Oh, it's hard to find.
Anything?
Yep.
So here's what I'm-
Wash with water. Just use water.
I will
Do your
say,
best.
if somebody's looking for a side of anxiety,
Uh-huh.
Environmental Working Group is the best place to visit.
I tell people to just try to get cleaning products and such at some sort of health food store. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not carrying things that have the
Or
crazy
make
stuff.
them.
You could make them.
I mean,
vinegar.
okay, so cleaning products, Barkeeper's Friend or Bon Ami, and vinegar.
Yep.
That's generally what I'm using.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing to think about is anything with fragrance,
Yeah.
like
Right.
Febreze
Oh,
or
man,
your
it's
laundry
so
detergent
bad.
that smells.
I know, and I love smells.
And-
Candles, and I know, but
Yeah,
it's so bad for you.
it's so essential oils are totally fine
Yeah, but
generally.
they're neurotoxins directly on the skin. So.
Right. So basically, I mean, that cleaning products I think is a big
Yep.
toxicity.
Okay, give me supplements.
Okay. So now supplements. Whenever I'm starting, if I'm going to start in like the nutrient realm, the first place I'm going to go is alpha lipoic acid.
Yeah.
Alpha lipoic acid. I read this one clinical case series where there was an IV. It was an IV ER doc. Sorry, it was an ER doc who in the IV was dealing with hepatitis failure.
Okay.
Right, and he was doing this was in his residency or in his fellowship, and these patients would come in and basically he was like, they're going to be dead in 12 hours. And so he was able to get through IRB and he was like, I would like to give them intravenous alpha lipoic acid.
Wow.
And he was reversing. He had like a 70% reversal of acute liver failure.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So that alpha lipoic acid is always on the top of my list.
So what I know about ALA is it inhibits apoptosis
Yes.
in the guts. We're saving some cell. It prevents degeneration and induces regeneration.
Yes.
So it's like working on multiple levels, and it's obviously a potent antioxidant. So
And I haven't
win-win.
heard of any potential downsides unless someone just doesn't tolerate it GI wise.
So the one thing that I will say is the first time I ever took a liver formula, I broke out into hives.
I know it.
It
yeah.
does happen.
Was it like a milk thistle?
It was a milk thistle-like product, but it had alpha lipoic acid. It was a blend, so it
Yeah.
had all of the high notes.
Yep.
I broke out into hives, and so now I do warn patients
Yeah.
that we want to make sure they have some Benadryl at home just in
Yeah.
case.
And it's so naturopathic. Like liver stuff shows on the skin, and like we've all
Mhm.
seen that. But like it's expressing. It
Yes.
sometimes needs to just inform people.
Yes,
Obviously, if they're having a true allergy, don't mess around with it. But
yes.
yeah.
So alpha lipoic acid is
Yep.
where I start.
Yep.
The next place that I think is always really important to talk about is selenium.
Yeah,
Selenium is a huge liver support, and it pushes the detox pathways to make the liver work better.
Yep. Yeah. And then anything with anything that pushes glutathione is going to be really
NAC.
important.
Okay, so
SAMe, L-methionine.
let's
NAC,
talk about
yep.
glutathione real quick.
Okay.
I'm going to plug one of my good friends. He's a naturopath, Dr. Jeff Clark. he is he was an engineer before he was ever a naturopath. And as a side, he's also a cattle ranch farmer. Really interesting guy.
Wow.
Also really, really good beef. Just saying.
Wow.
So I called him one day because he has a supplement company, and I was like, Jeff, can you explain glutathione, like liposomal glutathione, regular glutathione? And he was like, so you want a lecture? And I was like, yeah, but I want a quick one, Jeff. Give me a quick lecture. Just break it down so I understand it.
Attenuates liver injury. That's what I've heard.
Basically what Jeff was saying, and that dude does his research, what Jeff was saying is when you have glutathione, so glutathione orally, basically you can assume that about 80% of it is going to be destroyed in the GI tract. It's not going to cross. If you make it liposomal, you do probably double the price of it. But what else?
It tastes like farts.
And it smells like farts too.
It smells and tastes
but
like
he's
farts.
like maybe 70% is getting broken down by the GI tract. So you're only getting very little into the system. So the workaround that he has, and he has a product out there that looks like glutathione. And what he does is he gives all of the precursors that the body needs to make glutathione. So that's cysteine, that's NAC, and I think that's glycine. And so he puts that in a product, and he was like, I'm just giving the body the building blocks so it can push detoxification down the road.
Yeah. And they're cheaper.
And way cheaper.
Yep. Totally.
And we're assuming that you've already given them B vitamins and magnesium and such.
Let's talk about that.
Just for all of the cofactors, enzymatic reactions, etc. Whenever you do a detox program, right?
Yep. So start there. Start with the cofactors, the magnesiums, the Bs, the selenium.
Yep.
Add in some of the minerals, the alpha lipoic, maybe zinc.
Usually
so
blood test,
carnitine, L-carnitine.
I think about that more for nerve regeneration. What do you have for carnitine?
Well, there's some data that say that it shown to elevate enzyme activity that actually reduces the amount of fat in the liver. So I think about it for fatty liver disease. There's several studies that show it can improve hepatic steatosis and cirrhosis.
Animal or human? Do you know?
I don't know. I'd have to look that up, but it was like after, like there was positive benefit after L-carnitine supplementation.
Because I think of L-carnitine, great human data for nerve regeneration.
Yeah.
And especially diabetic nerve regeneration. So I would assume, diabetic neuropathy, I would assume it's also working on the liver with that pathway.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
Milk thistle.
So herbs. Let's talk about herbs.
Yep.
So milk thistle, I was always taught that milk thistle was the biggest gun we have, right? This is for progressed liver disease. So it's not necessarily where I'm going to start with, but if I see fatty changes, either because the liver enzymes are high or because the ultrasound is showing me fatty changes, it's always going to be on my list.
Yep.
But I usually, if I'm looking at like safer things, I'm looking at the bitters, the carminatives, dandelion, artichoke, what's this? There's an great herb. Cheladonia. Wow, good job, Dr. Kapadia.
Nice.
Good pull.
Yeah.
Cheladonia, I'm going to be thinking about those herbs to start with. And I personally really like those in like a tea blend.
Yeah.
If I just want some support, and I also
it doesn't push it as hard. And they get the water in.
And I also want a habit that's not you drinking alcohol. Why don't you drink some tea with maybe some inositol in there or some glycine in there? Like
you can make it with a chai. There are a lot of like liver detox chais that are quite nice.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of like the tea brands make that.
Yeah.
Great way to get it in.
So that's where I would usually start.
Yep.
And if I stall out, then I'm going to go back to my heavier hitters of more herbs.
So my experience with milk thistle, and I'm curious if you guys have seen this, I pulse it.
Oh.
Especially because of the like skin connection. I find people tolerate it better if I dose it, take a break, dose it, take a break, dose it, take a break. I don't see the skin stuff get as ramped up, especially because I do a lot of hormone things. So acne will just go through it'll get better and then it'll get way worse. So I always give it with zinc. And then I take like a week or two off.
So you're like dosing for 3 weeks, a week off? Okay.
Yep. Then I see it better tolerated and I see like the side effects go better and I seem to get the same benefits from like liver imaging, LFTs, all of that.
Cool. Okay, cool. So that's any other herbs on your guys' list?
I've tended to use the combination product, so I haven't, and they have milk thistle in them, but maybe it hasn't caused the same problem because it's not a high dose of a single herb,
Yeah. That's interesting.
And then I'm always going to try to push fiber.
Yeah, of course.
And then the other thing,
psyllium husk. Yep.
Yeah. And then let's talk about like, what are some lifestyles things? Like you want to talk about saunas?
I mean, I don't have it's generally just part of the
just sauna.
Yeah, just do it. That's traditionally been part of at the few environmental health centers that are left in the U.S. That's traditionally been part of their program for detoxification in general, because there's certain things that are just hard to get out any other way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's a center in Martha's Vineyard, and there's a center
really?
in Texas, and I don't know of any others in the U.S. anymore.
Cool.
But
And then, like
personal
sauna.
saunas, like what we have in our house and what you have in your house.
Yeah, which I honestly, I hate saunas.
Castor oil packs over the liver,
Mhm.
but that will push things. So you need to make sure it's not like
I forget how powerful of a tool
I know.
the castor oil pack
I know.
is.
I go on these kicks and I'm like, this fixes all the problems.
Yeah.
And movement.
Yes, exercise. I don't think we can have a conversation without
So,
exercise.
For fatty liver, for all of it, it's so important. I did a mentorship case today on like chronic pain. It was a chronic pain case, and one of the students in it said, "Motion is lotion,"
Yeah.
Oh,
which I've never. You've heard that? I've
That
never
one
heard
and
that.
the solution to pollution is dilution when irrigating an abscess or a wound.
huh? The
Gross.
solution to pollution
You
is
just
dilution.
have to bring up an abscess, don't you? So
I
Or it
love
could
that.
work for environmental pollutants.
I love that.
Motion is lotion. That cracks me up. But like, move your body.
Yeah.
Move your body. Move your abdomen. Like I know I lecture on this, but people we just keep this area of our body so tight and we don't
good
move
to
it.
scrunch it up and tense
Scrunch it,
when you're
twist
stressed
it.
or
I
anything.
think it's
Yeah.
really, really good to crunch up while you're sitting on your butt and not moving and looking at a 2-dimensional computer. I think that's
Exactly.
really the best
Twist
option.
around. Yeah.
And so that is like, and then also hydration.
Yep.
Like
That would
No.
go
Dilution,
on with the solution to pollution.
the solution to pollution is dilution. That might be how we title this
Dilution.
episode.
Yep. Yeah, and drink your water, people. Your liver needs it. It's just begging for water.
Yep. I think that is usually how I work up like a low grade functional liver case.
Yeah, and not even liver. Like a lot of what we just said would cause.
General detox.
Yeah, I mean, it would help with so many things.
And any resistant, particularly with resistant weight loss, where you've done all the other things.
Yeah.
There's often some toxicity component that's keeping it on.
Yeah, and
you know, so-
microbiome.
Yeah,
Huge
just
microbiome.
quick patient case. So I had this patient come in who one of her chief complaints was weight loss.
Yeah.
She was really struggling with weight loss, and I put her on the table. We did the intake. Did acupuncture, and when she left, I could smell her detergent, and I was like, "Oh, I just had this conversation with diet. How am I gonna, go into
You just give her a handout.
It's just so, but it's just I don't want
way
to.
out.
I don't want to
Never
be like. I
works.
feel like we have this.
know.
We're like
Ruining
bummers.
people's life,
We're just bummers.
No, it's super detox. That's why I avoided it. But now I'm like, I'm gonna
It actually
avoid it.
matters.
we got to
Can't
do
avoid
it.
it.
It is the most depressing thing because we're
Yep.
just surrounded. But we have to look at it like inflammation, where we can decrease. We
Yeah.
decrease.
Yes.
So
Do what you can.
Yes. Okay. Anything else that we missed?
that was awesome.
Who wants to give a recap?
Well, should we popcorn it?
Sure.
Okay, so we've got lifestyle stuff. Don't forget the lifestyle stuff. Start there. Move your body, water, weight loss,
Nutrition,
especially around the
Sugar.
abdomen.
Don't eat sugar.
Don't eat sugar.
Don't eat too much sugar.
Oh.
Try to avoid environmental toxins where you can.
Alcohol. We've got our herbs.
Drugs.
We've got our supplements.
Nutrients.
Yep, alpha lipoic acid, acetyl-L-carnitine, selenium.
Minimize Tylenol, although, come up with alternatives. We don't want people in pain. Ibuprofen also isn't great. So, but
Yeah.
address
I mean,
pain.
ibuprofen for the whole IBD population is out.
Right.
So their only
And
option
the
is
whole chronic kidney disease
And
population.
anyone
and
with
the whole
leaky gut.
cardiovascular disease population.
Let's be honest, all our people.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Or bad
maybe
news.
the recommendation that we're saying is please go live on the top of the mountain and meditate so you
Yep.
don't have to deal
We
with
have
chronic
not
pain.
found the location yet. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
If we all retire somewhere and disappear, you'll know we found it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thanks, guys.
This was great.
Bye. Thanks for joining us today. Stay tuned. We release episodes every 2 weeks.
If you like this episode, please subscribe and don't forget to rate and review us to help spread the turd nerd word.